What is up, everybody? Revolutionary. Revolutionary music. Movement. Let me get other people on here. Justin and Corona. I'm standing today. I want to feel that energy flow. So we're going to stand today. Oh, there we go.
Yo,
There we go. Hey, what's up?
I don't know why my this. I don't know
What
why
was
my
that?
camera like it only becomes like whack when I do a live with someone else, which is weird. I don't know.
What is up, everybody?
What up?
Corona, Justin.
What's poppin'?
Not much, not much. Ready to get into this. I'm
Yeah,
standing.
it's so funny because like I'm so used to around this time like watching you guys, and now I'm actually like on the show. So this is like really dope. I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, for sure. Just a guess. Just a guess. Don't be getting your
Well,
hopes up.
yeah, yeah, no, of course. I'm just saying as
Fun
a fan to
fun
be a guest.
with you.
Yeah, as a fan, to be a guest is dope. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So, revolutionary music, and I added movement, music, movement. What was the other thing I added? Art, art. At the last second.
Yeah.
So, I think not just as far as like I think music is so important for the revolutionary experience.
Yeah, I agree.
Because they even say is like, what do they say when you have a cause? I believe I don't like to use the word cause because what is a cause? Cause you have a problem, but a cause causes more shit to happen.
Mm-hmm.
A movement
Cause and
transforms.
effect.
And why not have some movement with your movement? One of my friends, and I'm not sure if he would want me to share this, and it wasn't a negative thing that he had said, but he said that he thought, you know, when like comedians like will say something or somebody says a joke and they do the rim shot,
Right.
that he said that defund the police was just a rim shot
Mm.
because it's a real short, clear thing. You couldn't like say the whole thing that you exactly want,
Right.
and it's
Yeah.
an easy thing to stay in your mind. It's something that will
Mm-hmm.
that really gets in their head too. So it's like the perfect thing to say. But the way that defunding the police, and I don't know specifically what that means, but to me, like the basics of that, if you were to look it up, means defund the police, empower other people, and kind of it fucks it up for everybody. That's my understanding of it. Go ahead. Let me go ahead. Are you is your sound on? Is your sound on?
Wait.
Okay.
Okay, is this better?
Yo, I'm
You
back.
can hear me now?
Back. Yeah. No, everything's
Okay.
good. I internet problems. I'm sorry.
So I think what you're saying, Steve, is more in regards to resources, right? And when people do talk about defunding the police, where do these resources go? And I think that that's part of the conversation that's been missing in a lot of the movements is yes, defund or not, whatever it is that wherever it is that you stand, but if it does happen, are we putting resources in that were taken into something that will help uplift the communities, right? And I think that that's something that's been showing a lot here in LA, at least. You know, because there was a lot of riots out here in LA. There was a lot of the Black Lives Matter movement and people standing up and saying defund the police, given all of those graphic images that were going around, right? And so I think a lot of it was successful as far as removing those resources. But now, the media, you look at the news, you look outside, you're living a whole new experience with people being, you know, like assaulted. And where are the policemen when you are dealing with this situation? And if there are no policemen or women, whatever, what other resources are coming into place in order to safeguard people?
So you said you saw that on the news. Are you seeing it in real time, in real life around you too?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, out here in LA, right? We had and I mean, when we talk about defunding the police, we need to also talk about what part of, or what departments, or is it just as a whole, right? How are they getting hit on an economical standpoint, right? Because I'm not one to really like violence, because violence begets violence, of course, but also, right, that becomes a big part of the touchy subject when we talk about these things. And I mean, there was a robbery out here in the valley. There's a lot of robberies going around. I know in San Diego we had a few in Chula Vista, right? At the mall, they do smash and grabs. Or here in LA, there's been a lot of, with the laws changing, of course, there's been a lot of people running into stores and just taking a bunch of merchandise. And then, you know, they call the cops, and the cops either show up too late or they show up and they shoot, like they did out here in the valley. They shot, I think they were aiming at the suspect. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. But there was a lost bullet, and the lost bullet traveled into a fitting room where
Yeah.
the girl was hiding with her mother. And this little girl passed away, Valentina, right? So
How old was she?
She was in her teens, 12, 13, 14, around there. Not more than 15. But again, like, weapons are and this is a subject that I talk about lightly because I see the problems with it, but I also see how sometimes things like weapons can be used for good ish, you know, like hunting, right? Things like that.
You can use a hammer to destroy, or you can use a hammer to build
A house. Yeah. Right? And so happen, right? And I asked myself, okay, yes, from the police or
Corona.
Yeah.
You're kind of like going in and out. I want you to like really focus and be present and relax so we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Just but like consistently
Okay.
Be mindful of that.
Okay. So I think what I was saying is, in regards to defunding, how is it that we are helping officers or people who are on duty handle these guns or handle situations in a different way, right? If we're defunding, what are we defunding? Are we defunding the weaponry? Are we defunding salary? What is it that we're taking money from or resources from, and where are we placing it? Why don't we place it back into mental health support? Why don't we place it into, I don't know, health and wellness, right? A lot of policemen carry, I think we've had this conversation, Steve, where you made me aware of their stance and where they carry a lot of their stress on their hips, where they carry all of their holster, all of their tools, right? How often do these policemen have resources? How often do they go and see a therapist? How often do they go and use the gym? Because I know a lot of them do have at least facilities where they can work out, right? And how much time are they allotted? Maybe that's something that needs to be reconsidered or possibly talked about, discussed, right, on a different level.
Yeah. Do you want to add anything, Justin?
Man, Corona said a lot of stuff that resonates with me personally. I just think that here, I think that no matter what, regardless of anything, even though I'm pro-black and I'm pro, people getting the rights and equity and things that they need, I do believe that the police are needed to some extent, and especially in these times, because everyone's saying at the time defund the police, right? I know there's people who are abolitionists. They believe we should just get rid of police and have people within their own neighborhoods protect the neighborhoods and things of that nature. But I really do think that there needs to be some type of protection that's objective. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But originally, I think what you were saying, Steve,
can I interject you real quick? Remember
Yeah.
that conversation we had where I asked you, why don't we, taking it to the abolitionist standpoint, why don't we get rid of cops? Aren't people just great?
Oh, no, okay, yeah.
I think that's important.
Okay, yeah. So we had this conversation. We were at Five Guys, and it was literally about what she just said. And I think by human nature, I think if you're not taught how to conduct yourself, to have compassion, to have empathy, to have all these things, right, to be a functioning member of society, human nature, you will do some harmful things to people, right? Like I do believe that. Without the right training, the right anything, I think human beings will look out for themselves and do what they have to do. Period. So if you left it up to like getting rid of the police, what you're seeing now, like it would be 10 times worse. It would be the purge, just based off of human nature. Just because there's nobody to regulate, there's no checks and balances up for grabs. And in my time, because like outside of this, I study a lot of different things. I study law outside of this, just because I it's a fantasy of mine. I study law, and in my time studying law, I've like realized that like you really can't put anything past anybody, like whether contractually, whether like I've learned a lot about torts law, the harms that people do to others, even criminal law. Like I've just learned that like, and these are all real cases that I've come across in case books and stuff like that. You just start to see that like, not everyone's bad, obviously, but there is that option to step out of like your divine energy to do bad things. And so I think that again, I really think that this world is built off of duality, a balance. So if you don't have the checks and balances, if you don't have somebody there, if there is no law, if there is no anything, people will just, it'll be a cycle. And I shared this with Corona. One of my favorite songs ever, and speaking about revolution, tying it back to music, J. Cole has a song called High for Hours. And High for Hours, he talks about like even meeting Obama and telling him like, well, if you're in the chair, why aren't you helping people out? And then he also talks about like revolution. And what he says about revolution is that he said, have you ever seen it where like with domestic violence, like say a son sees his dad beat his mom, right? And even though that's wrong, he'll do the same because it's a cycle. And so that's the same thing with revolution. And you can even see it in Black Panther, where like even the Killmonger wants to basically get the power to enslave the oppressors, but it just turns into a cycle. So that's why you like with revolution, it can't just be about all right, let's let it make sense for us because they did us wrong. Like it's more of like a like like revolution really starts with you. You know, like if you want things to change, you have to change within yourself, and hopefully that influence changes other people. And that's basically what J. Cole says at the end of it. He's a revolution starts with you. It's not about overpowering people. It's not about taking people out, defunding the police. It really has to do with looking at ourselves, looking at our human nature, looking at all that other stuff. Because it's exactly how I started. Because human nature, if you don't learn how to heal, if you don't learn how to conduct yourself in a proper way, then chaos happens. So and one last thing, bringing it back to him having the Obama conversation in the song, he says like basically Obama says, well, like change is slow, it always has been, it always will be, and it's everything's a process. So even when you're trying to conduct yourself and operate in a way where you're trying to revolutionize things, it's a process. So change is slow. So that's what I really think, man. I think at the end of the day that everything needs checks and balances, and revolution just really starts with you. So
can I also throw this in?
Yeah.
We were, having a conversation the other day regarding how a lot of times revolutionary music starts off with African American folks or African folks, right? People from Africa.
Struggle.
That's where a lot of it or originated, right? And a lot of it was brought over to the Americas, and a lot of us was revolutionized even deeper, even further. But one thing I wanted to tie into it was the health aspect, right? Steve, I know you posted something on your page regarding healing hurts, right? And how that has been used as a tool to self-heal and guided meditation, right? But also music being used as a tool to survive, right? When we had early days of American slavery, right? A lot of the ways that they were able to survive was through music, was through putting in different codes or different words that they recognized or understood that the white man couldn't, right? And they would find their way through to freedom, ultimately, to the South.
It could have been the first social media.
Yeah, it really could have.
There we go.
No, I think being a musician and studying music and doing radio and all this stuff, like there's something that is so therapeutic because you're able to articulate your truth, and you can use that as so many different avenues as to heal, but also create a whole new identity, a whole new world, a whole new soundscape. And I think that there's a good thing, and it's funny that Steve said social media, like tying it back to our conversation about the metaverse and everything. Sometimes people create such an identity, like I think about rap and how people come up with new names and new, like Eminem is like the whole Slim Shady, like that whole everything. Sometimes people get lost in the entertainment that they don't see the other side of what's real. So
facade.
Yeah, the facade, and it's funny because I think this in our group chat about rap lyrics. And I think this ties into Revolution too, because NWA, right? Straight Outta Compton, fuck the police, everything that they stood for. It was very violent. It was straight up what it is. And now Jay-Z and Meek Mill are basically going and trying to make sure that the courts don't convict people off of rap lyrics. And it's super wild to think that like the flip side of like some revolutionary music that has changed the world is violent and it can incriminate people straight up. But now it's like a thing where they're trying to figure out, okay, what lyrics make sense? Can this be a case by case situation? And like, I think gangster rap is some of the most revolutionary music ever. Like, you know, all the stuff with Ice Cube and Ice-T.
Were they protecting rappers that were like snitching on themselves, or just like doing music that's so raw that they're
now what they're trying to do is just like, if a rapper talks about something that they did, or it sounds like they committed a crime, they're like being like
investigated further.
Yeah, they're there you go.
So
They're being investigated further and all that.
Using someone's work to incriminate them.
Exactly. Basically. Yeah, so essentially that's what's happening. And that's what's happened for a while. Like, I even think of like the whole Bobby Shmurda, like, caught a body about a week ago. And Bobby Shmurda was gone for like 7 years. He's out now, but like you think about all this stuff, and even going back to the
and this isn't just in music, right? Because we also have in storytelling, right? We have epic stories which are actually depicting real life events, right? Or in if any of the watchers are Mexican, we have banda or corridos, and in corridos, you know, they do tell bloody stories about violence and things like that. So it's interesting that you do bring that up and tie it back into rap.
Yeah, it's crazy because like even looking at it, right? Like, even though they're telling bloody stories and all that, like, think about it, that could be therapy, that could be catharsis, that could be all this other stuff. Because and tying it back to the whole defund the police and the resources and mental health and all this stuff, like, especially like in the hood and Black culture, and I think Steve can attest to this too. Mental health, especially in the Black community, or like just the community as people of color, is a newer conversation. It like back then, I trust me.
Lots of pride there.
Oh, a lot of pride. Like, yeah. So, you know, my mom would be like, "Well, you can't change it. It is what it is. You gotta get up. You gotta get up. Who get? All right.
Yeah, my dad was in Vietnam, and his dad died when he was 12. Never saw a psychologist.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's real. Like, my dad's an EMT, and my dad's been an EMT for 35 years. Like, an EMT when the LA riots were happening, EMT in the pandemic right now. Like, and my dad, I don't think has ever seen any professional help. I mean, thank God he's mentally well. He's also one who taught me to be like, okay, you can be open about how you feel. Like, he's been more the person like, all right, you feel bad? All right, here's what you do. Feel bad, but tomorrow you got to get up. Like, if you're on the floor, it's cool to be on the floor, but you got to get up. Like, you can't stay.
That's therapy. That's therapy for sure.
Yeah, but my dad, like, I think about all the stuff that he sees, and like, he obviously, I'll probably never know most of the stuff. I know a few things. He asked me, he's actually asked me several times. He said, "Would you want to be an EMT?" I'm like, no, never. I couldn't. I'm too much of an empath. I can't. I'd be like, I see some bloody stuff or situation. I'd be, no. But yeah, I just think that
I'm emotionally strong, but I've never seen a body like ripped in half.
No, like, my dad's seen traffic collisions. Like, the wildest thing that I've seen in my time working, because I worked at a personal injury firm, and just to see some of the pictures of people who got into accidents was just enough for me to be like, I'm cool. And like, I also worked at a nursing home for a little bit, and I saw, like, you know, these people who who couldn't walk anymore. Like I saw one guy, he was a gang member, he's a paraplegic. Like the stuff that I would see was just enough for me to be like, I can't be in the medical field. Like for real. Like I can't do this. Like this is just a lot all the time. And
so I wanted to kind of bring this back. So Bob Marley, for the people in the audience that don't know, I'm a Bob Marley impersonator. And Bob Marley, when he was a kid, he was half and half Jamaican, half European and half Jamaican. And he was ostracized by the Jamaicans because he was half white, and he was ostracized by the whites because he was half Jamaican. And that conflict that was in him and that time he spent alone really channeled him into some darkness that created songs like One Love.
Right.
Really put him in a place that he was looking out for others. He was taking care of 7,000 Jamaicans' families when he had, at the time he had died.
Sorry about that.
He was taking care of all the families because of that darkness that we all go through on times. And he used it to get to that one love and have an understanding. You take Peter Tosh, who was more militant than Bob, was spending lots of times getting arrested for smoking weed on the streets and everything, and doing that and just being militant about everything. And there's sometimes it's times for Peter Tosh, and there's sometimes it's times for Bob. But I mean, even the stress of Bob being in that place and being that martyr, he only lived to 36. So Hitler didn't like modern art. Why is that?
I mean, Hitler not liking modern art. I mean, let's keep it a buck. There's a lot of people who don't like modern art. Like,
but sometimes you may not like ice cream, and you may not like ice cream for something that's just like basic. Yeah. We could go that he was an artist, but art inspires.
Right.
And that inspiration could probably like, oh fuck, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. Like,
well, I mean,
no.
Ultimately, it all comes down to being set in their ways, right? And we see this with, you know, sometimes even our families or you know, close friends is some people are stuck in the traditional ways. Some people don't want to open their minds or expand their minds or be open to other things. And I don't know, is it traditionalists versus and conservatives versus people who are more progressive per se?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel you. I think where he was coming from, more like he didn't want people to be influenced because he had a whole agenda. And when you start to be open-minded and when you start to find some type of liberation, that's when you're like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to listen to what that guy has to say. Which makes a lot of sense, ultimately. But I also sent you guys in the group chat the whole thing about how older music is what's streaming and like all this other stuff. Just tying it back to art and what he was saying. Basically, I think with just older music, especially in the pandemic, like they're listening to that because they're trying to hold on to some type of familiarity, some type of like old memories, nostalgia, like, and you know, oldies, I'm just using that, I'm prefacing that for like anything that's like 10 years and older, right? Like, let's say oldies. Like, that has always been something that people love, right? Like, that's always, like, there's a reason why there's K-Day, there's a reason why they have these oldie stations, all this stuff. Like, to this day, there are some songs in hip-hop as a DJ that are 20 to 30 years old that if I drop this right now, it's about to go up. Like, especially if you're here on the West Coast, like the next episode, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, and Nate Dogg, it's gonna go up no matter what. Like, Back That Ass Up, Juvenile, it's gonna go up. You know, and there's just a lot of different music that no
You
matter
probably,
what the genre
you
is.
probably have to change it to back that ass up if you feel like it, if you're comfortable. You probably have to
Oh
ask.
no.
I'm joking, I'm
You wanna know something that's
Where's
super real?
Mickey when you need him?
joking.
Right. No, you know what? To be real, I've seen some of the most social justice warriors. I've seen some of the biggest feminists. When that shit drops, everything changes. Oh, another one is Too Short's Blow the Whistle. When you be like, what's my favorite word? And the B word just flies. It flies. So I mean, yeah, and I'm not saying it's right? Like I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I just know that regardless of anything, everybody got a little ratchet in them,
Yeah.
and
Well,
it comes
let's
out.
let's bring that into the fold. That's why art is so powerful.
Right.
Like like Mickey, I can get away with saying shit that I
Oh
feel,
my god.
and also I feel it's like Mickey's like healing me too, because like whatever that darkness is in getting out there. So I want to use like something that I use like with Hitler, and I've used this a couple times on the podcast. But so there are a lot of Jewish people that, in order to survive, had to act German.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
Germans, and I may be profiling, but Germans are really tight. I
Mm-hmm.
say I was raised German. If you see my face when I was younger, I was like very, very, very tight. So they would tighten up and become German. And then when they're comfortable and they're around their people in close circles, they're a little more free. Have you ever been to a Jewish wedding?
I'm not yet. I'm not yet.
They are wild, bro.
I've seen the turn up. I've always wanted to turn up with the bar mitzvahs and the bat mitzvahs. I haven't hit that circuit yet, but I want to.
It's total different when you see it, because that common enemy that not only them but a lot of people experience, and there's lots of tightness. Like if you talk about African American males, they're like every 2 weeks you got to get your hair cut, and
That's me.
yeah, and a lot of that, maybe I just want my hair cut every 2 weeks, but a lot of that might be you making moves. Sorry, you in general, not you. People make moves to keep from getting attacked by police. From being just in line for the slave master. Same thing goes on in Mexico. Mexico, usually guys with long hair are either gay or artists, and usually everybody will have short hair. And there's lots of influence from Germany after World War II in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Mariachi music sounds
Banda, mariachi, yep.
real close to polka music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Banda and polka music are
Something like
almost fucking
this,
identical, and the
you
way they
can see my
dance it.
hips, but salsa dancing to the side like this. As we talked before, police officers, I've noticed with police officers, they don't like lateral movements. They don't like lateral movements at all. So when I'm around them, I have my hands like this. I joke that just to create illusion in somebody's mind, I'll just be more German. They're fearful. That's fine. I'm not fearful, but I'm not going to trigger them to the
Right.
some places it's different than others. And even when I'm talking with them, I've yelled at 5 different police officers, and when they have their hands on their hips, then I slow down and I pause, because that's getting closer to them drawing. I'm just like reading their body language as and young people don't notice it. So that's why I think music is so powerful, because in art, because you can get away from these things. And to me, and I know capitalism is bullshit like most of the time, but for me, capitalism is art. And sometimes in these movements, there's no structure to them. It's just noise. And for transformation, you need that chaos, that noise, for sure. But at some point, it has to be structured. Like, and maybe you can speak to this. Like, fuck, I can't believe I can't remember his name. The dude was kneeling for the NFL.
Oh, Colin Kaepernick.
So Colin Kaepernick, he was doing this, got the opening, and then Jay-Z kind of stepped in.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how I necessarily feel about that. Because it could have been 100% positive. Or it could have been somebody like, you did all the hard work, let me step in here and just promote my music. It's because I don't know.
No, I mean, I can see why you would think that, but like Jay at this point, he's so much of a goat. Like, I don't think the motive was to promote what he has going on. I really do think, like, even with his whole initiative with like going into the court system, right? Like, I think that Jay at this point is trying to revolutionize what culture looks like, and he's trying to help like get rid of the stigma of certain things. And obviously he's pro-black, but I do believe there's some inclusion for that, you know, like people who want to partake in the culture, or people who want to have freedom of speech or the freedom to do something. He's along like supporting those people.
I think extreme energy is one that needs to, well, people need to wake up to the fact that you can be pro-black and still okay with white folks, right? Because I feel like people begin to polarize, and then they completely neglect that there is other things out there, right?
Yeah, like
I dosing type of shit.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll keep it real. I am pro-black. I mean, as a DJ, as a radio host, as a historian of hip hop and all this other stuff, like I'm engulfed in black culture. Even being an agent, like I help a lot of black acts tour. But at the same time, I've never been pro-black to the point where I don't ride for other issues. Or not even anti-white, but I know some people who are pro-black, but when the Asian hate was happening or things were happening to the Jewish people who were getting beat up for the whole Pakistan stuff, like I was right there posting about it, like this is wrong. Like it like for me, it's like injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. Like I'm not just one to do that. And like again, I'm for sure not anti-white. But at the same time, like for me, I wish more people who identified that way would step out of their privilege to see what's actually going on and use their privilege as an agent of change. I want them to be agents of change.
And I would say that I agree with you, and there's been a lot of progress.
Oh yeah, I would say in light of what happened, with George Floyd and the other black people who were shot for, let's just say, like unjustly, right? Like, or who were killed unjustly. I think that it really started a conversation, and it has changed things. There has been a shift, but again, I feel like the conversation has been pushed further, like of like equal rights, equity, all that stuff. But at the same time, we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of healing to do, and it's not just the black community. It's people of color, people, the LGBT plus community. It's a lot. There's a lot of healing, and there's a lot of things in terms of inclusion that needs to be promoted more.
I want to throw out one quick thing. Is I did a video the other day talking about, and it was kind of an artistic way, but there's some truth to it. that when I get a little hungry or tired, I get a little racist.
Oh
And
God.
I kind of went into the video saying that we got to acknowledge that the slave the slave masters weren't people that were, I mean, they were in better position than the slaves, but in order to put people through that deep, dark hell, you have to be in that place too.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I agree. But it goes back to my conversation about human nature. Like, human beings literally took other human beings and killed, enslaved, raped, did all types of unimaginable things, treated them like animals, exploited them.
And another thing, it's still going on in the world. We got to acknowledge that.
That's what I was about to say. And it's still happening. Like, there is modern day slavery. I think incarceration is part of it. Sex trafficking is part of it. You know, even these corporations and how they treat other employees and things of that nature. There is still sweatshops. There is modern day slavery. So I even think outsourcing to a certain extent is modern day slavery. But that's just me, right? So again, I think the conversation it's happening. But to quote my man Kendrick Lamar, and I'm calling people out, there are a lot of overnight activists out there though. And even though like they help the conversation to keep, you know, going and all, I was just like, when things happened at the border, right, for the Haitian people, where was all those people protesting when the George Floyd thing happened? Where was, because when it went down, I was not quiet. I like made a post. I was saying all types of stuff. And it's not even just because like we share the same skin complexion, right? Or close enough. It's like, if you see injustice and you want to be part of the change, you should say something. You should use your voice. You should use your platform. You should do something about it. And so,
but not just do something about it as far as posting shit. That's all great, right?
Right, of course.
Also, like here, right? It's let's be realistic. It's a capitalist society.
Right.
Where are you putting your money? Because money is putting your vote, right? Are you going to go and support, I don't know, a big company like Walmart? Or are you going to support a little small mama papa shop that street out of nowhere because they need money to survive, right? And that kind of goes back into what you were saying earlier.
Yeah, no. I mean, I get to say for me personally, I'm big into definitely like up and coming brands and buying stuff, and like before the pandemic, even I used to DJ and make beats at an art walk. I used to always buy art from local vendors. At one point when I was in college, I was like, all I want is shirts that are either like rappers, bands, or you know, local brands. I don't want to wear like other stuff. Like I've always been big into that, especially black businesses and like business of people of color. Like I've always tried to help those people out. But it's true. But I will say this, because I'll keep it mad real. It is also hard with certain corporations and to not give them certain money, especially like Target and like Walmart and other stuff. But I do agree that where you invest your money, because it's a capitalistic society, is important, and that's part of the conversation too.
My forbidden pleasure is Amazon.
Oh, Amazon, yeah.
Not Bezos.
They get that stuff to me so fast, and it's so convenient.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard. Like it's hard.
But that's why we have to be responsible capitalists.
Yeah. Like I'm outsourcing the guy that edits my videos in Pakistan, but I'm investing money in that area, and he's doing.
See, that's different.
No. I'm saying, so I'm mindful of that, Corona talked me out of and I never did it, but I was gonna do it, like do my stuff in China, like get like my stickers and stuff from China, and I like really sat with that present, and I was like, okay, if I can have an arrangement like I have with my guy in Pakistan in China, then I'll go into China. And sometimes I don't know.
I mean, to add context, I remember when my mom got laid off her job, right? And I remember outsourcing was a big part of that. And I sit and think about like I know people are helping other people in other countries, right?
Yeah.
But then I sit and think about like the American people who are trying to survive and make a living and support their family. So that's part of the reason why I'm like, outsourcing, I don't know. And that's me keeping it funky. Again, I've worked for other companies where they did outsource. Either I was paid the American wage, they were being, outsourcing all that stuff, and I was just like, dude, like, I don't know how I feel about this, but that's just me. Hey man, disagreement is not disapproval,
Yeah. So, name some other. You named Kendrick Lamar.
Oh man, there's so many, bro. Common, Lupe Fiasco, Immortal Technique.
Immortal Technique. Let's talk about Immortal Technique.
Immortal Technique is the movie.
I don't know if y'all saw it, but I'm still new to it. I don't know if y'all have any info on it. I know there's a prison somewhere out on the East Coast, where the situation is horrible, right? And I'm not saying that it's any better at every other prison, but that's something that I think very like necessary to talk about, right? Not a lot of artists do. Not a lot of artists talk about those who are in prison and paying with their lives, with their bodies, with their stomachs, right? For things they shouldn't even be charged for. What is that prison?
I think some artists do touch on it, and they talk about paying people's books and seeing, talking about when so and so is gonna get home and things of that nature. But I don't think to the level of the extent that people do rap about jail, like that experience. I don't think people do it enough. But to kind of tie it back to Steve, I mean, there's still a lot of rappers that are very still political. I mean, Lil Baby doesn't do it often, but he has a song called "The Bigger Picture" where he was touching on the Black Lives Matter stuff and just stuff that goes on in the hood. I mean, 21 Savage has talked about things that have happened in the hood. That song is called "Nothing New." But there's plenty of people, Talib Kweli, Mos Def,
writers.
There's a lot of different people in hip hop.
What's the balance between glorifying it, possibly feeding the prison industrial the prison industrial complex. Or whatever? Yeah. It could, to a certain, by glorifying it, could be feeding it in some way. I remember, I don't know who it was, but a rapper was talking about how they had a bunch of industry people saying that they wanted to continue. They got a bunch of rappers and some industry people saying they wanted to, asking them to continue to do that so that they could change it, going to 1 in 5 to now 1 in 4.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: if you're out here talking about, yeah, I'm out here on the block, so and so got shot, like, and we turned up after. I'm just freestyling, making shit up, right? That to me is glorifying it. If in a lot of your songs you're talking about committing crimes and like, oh man, this was dope, like I hit a lick and me and the homie celebrated, that's glorifying it. But if you're talking about like, yo, this is what happened to me, I was born into this, blah blah blah, like I'm just trying to do what I gotta do, like I know it ain't right. One of my favorite songs ever is What We Do, Freeway. No, Freeway, What We Do, Jay-Z, Benny Siegel. Even in the hook, even though what we do is wrong. And Just Blaze is on that beat. And even though it's like, yo, like they're talking about selling drugs and doing what they have to do, but he's like, even if my kids are hungry, I'm gonna steal dishes out of your kitchen. Like it's more like, yo, even though we know this is not right, we gotta do what we gotta do to survive because of the social economic status of Black people post slavery and you know, civil rights and all this stuff. You know, people living in Section 8, people living in the projects. It's not a mystery that in the hood there's no healthy eating situations. It's not a coincidence that how everything is set up. So that in their minds, they're like, I got to get it how I live. And then some people who are born into gangs and they have criminal records from when they're young, they can't go and get a regular job. So they're like, I know this is wrong. The system's messed up. Let me go. And sometimes they set you up to go back to prison. That's a real thing. So and that's why they call it the trap. That's why it's the trap. Because you're born into this system that wants you to fall prey into, you know, being incarcerated and all these things. So like for me, like there's a flip side of it. There's gangster rap where it's conscious. And Kendrick Lamar, even though he's not a gangster, he's from Compton, but he was just reporting and expressing what he was seeing in a very poetic way. So there's ways of doing it, but do I think Kendrick Lamar has ever glorified this stuff? No. So and there's plenty of gangster rappers who don't glorify it, and there's some that do. So
there's a I Shot the Sheriff by Bob Marley.
Right.
Eric Clapton covered it. But when I like kind of delved into that song, that particular song, I didn't Google for the meaning that Bob was in there, but I felt like the system for not just Black people, but for all people, not all,
Right.
that he says, every time I plant a seed, he said, kill it before it grows. And I just feel like as an entrepreneur, as a humanitarian that wants to help people, sometimes I feel that people are like killing that seed before it grows. So that's
man.
that spoke to me. And metaphorically, shooting the sheriff makes sense to me. But also, like especially over the last 5, 7, 8 years, I get sad every time I hear a police officer got shot.
No, I mean, yo, to be real, like again, have I in hip hop crowds been like, fuck the police? There's plenty of songs that talk about fuck the police outside of NWA, right? But at the same time, I don't feel good when cops get shot. I don't feel good when they get killed. I don't like.
It's about the system versus the person, right? It's about the
and
not the person's life.
And I also feel bad for the genuinely good cops who just want to protect and serve. Like I do feel bad for those people because like, dude, I would tell my dad all the time. Like I was like, man, when it was like hot out here, like 2 years ago, I was like, I would hate to be a cop. The hazing, the stuff that they would just yell at them. I was like, dude, it's
empathy. When I was kind of not necessarily enjoying it, but like kind of like when I heard it, I was like, I don't give a fuck. Like when I was much younger, I'm being honest, is when I didn't feel heard, or I didn't feel that my people were heard, and I don't feel like they're acting like this shit didn't even fucking happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
People want to be heard.
Yeah. I mean,
People,
it's a big thing.
yeah, people want to be seen and heard. I would just add that. But to take it a step further, people want to be seen and heard in their humanity. That's what it is. I think that a lot of times society and institutions and things like that, they otherize us because let's be real, like it's hard to get to know everyone on a personal level. Like think about all the people that you know in your life and you've known them for years, but do you really know that person and what they would do in every single situation? So what happens is that people like to categorize, and based off of people's patterns and history and all that, they're able to make an assessment, and then from there, that's how people like are prejudiced. They prejudge people, and they label you as this, and this is how you're gonna act, and this is how you're gonna move, and this is how all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that's the hard part. So what it creates a lot of times, even when you try to just get to know somebody, you just don't want to be prejudged. You want to be seen in your own humanity.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, like I'm using the system as an example, but like even on a one-on-one basis, because that person has preconceived notions of what a certain person, a male, female, non-binary, they might have a preconceived notion of who this person is. But it's like, no, like you can't put me in that label because you don't know all my experiences. You don't know all my triggers. You don't know all the stuff I've been through.
Like,
so
like,
I just want to be,
people, like,
yeah.
And hats off to the police.
Yeah.
They're better at that than we think. So, I mean, Joe Rogan had said this at some point. He's like, think of how many altercations or like situations that police have all over the United States, all over the world. Most of the time, they get it right because we got to acknowledge the full path. Yeah. So one of the things before I heard Joe Rogan say that came to me was there was this, and I don't know specifically, but observing him, there is this African American, really big dude that would come into Starbucks, and he had some mental issues, and he would be there, and a couple times I would just be drinking my coffee, meditating, and he would just like come up and just like be staring at me from so close. Or one time I saw him online at the 7-Eleven, and he just like all of a sudden like moves like this, like right next, like a really big dude. Like, and I was like, this motherfucker. And at that point I knew him, and I never had seen him do any violence or anything. So I was like to the guy in line, is like, he's cool. And I gave him a fucking $5 fucking gift card, and he fucking started crying one time.
Oh man.
And then he was fucking totally cool. Like, I could have told him to fuck somebody else for me if I needed to, but I wouldn't do that. But it was just that simple. And once I knew that, because I was like ready to swing when he came around me, like when I didn't know what was going on with him. And I was like, this dude's going all around like that, and the police haven't shot him yet. They can't be as bad. We can say they're bad, or they can say they're better than we think. It was like, they can't be as bad as the media is saying.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, for me, I just try my best to steer clear of any trouble, any other. Like, I don't got time. I'll be in the crib, like especially with like all this stuff going on with crimes and stuff.
Like a pussy. You sound like a pussy.
Hey, man. Hey. All I say is this. Hey, we all came out of one, so fuck it. Gotta respect.
It sounds like you're still in there.
Fuck it, chilling. I don't want to be in this world with all these fuck ass people. Hell no. Chilling.
Nikki likes to fuck ass, by the way.
Mickey likes to eat ass. He likes to do a lot of shit. I don't know.
But he doesn't like his burger with pickles and onion.